Hi, this is Fox Stevenson.
My name's Wyatt Troy.
And I want to welcome everybody to Behind the DAW.
We interview artists and music industry experts on an emotional, philosophical, and artistic level to get inside their heads, gather the best information, and then bring it back to you. By the way, this is a companion podcast to our new YouTube series, In the DAW, where we invite artists to dissect their songs in real time. If you have any artists you would like to see come on the show, or if you have any feedback in general, you can contact me at wyatt@musicandstuffllc.com. Start you off. I have 3 questions really quick.
Okay.
So if Pinocchio was to say, my nose is going to grow, what would happen?
Yeah, that's I've heard that one and I've not been able to answer it before. I guess it would never grow. I guess it wouldn't grow because it's true.
But if it's true,
but it's going to grow at some point anyway. I guess if you want to use it that way, at some point it's kind of inevitable that his nose. Oh wait, my nose will now grow. Maybe then you kind of got me. But if he just says my nose is going to grow, I think that's a safe bet that at some point in the future, maybe.
Okay. So yeah, if he says my nose is going to grow now, do you think it just like grows and goes back?
Then we're into dodgy territory.
What helps me sleep at night is I just think that it just kind of like grows and goes back really quick. You know what I mean?
Hangs out.
To prevent a paradox. Anyways, okay. So next one. Do centaurs have 2 sets of ribs?
I guess so, right? Yeah.
Maybe it's just like one big set, just goes all the way up.
I guess they do, and I feel like if you are lugging around a human and a horse as your body, you might need like extra lungs for all that oxygen.
2 sets of lungs too.
I mean, if you got ribs, you got lungs, right?
I guess that's what ribs do, is protect the lungs. It's a package deal.
No one ever stopped to think about the in-depth anatomy of a centaur.
We might have to draw this out.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you've got 2 stomachs then as well.
Oh my gosh. Before the rise of the internet and phones and anything such as that, did people ever say the term, "Where are you?" Because in order to speak to someone, you had to know where they are, even if you wrote letters. You had to know where you were sending it. So did people ever say that before?
I guess it depends. Yeah, because there would have been like PO box situations, right? Like if someone's in the army or something, and then like you're sending letters to a loved one who's out there serving, then you don't know exactly where they are. Like you're sending it to the postal force that would get it to the people who need to be there, and you wouldn't have that information yourself. Though whether they could answer it through confidentiality might be a...
Or if you're blind.
Yeah.
We're warmed up. We're ready. We have Fox Stevenson, the legend. I'm really sick, and so like me just saying that with my throat felt really good and deep.
Yeah, you got some good croak going down.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Mr. Sawyer, since I had those 3 wonderfully deep and completely essential questions, will you take the very first question?
So I got to dig the new rabbit hole, is what you're saying?
That's right. Here's the mini shovel.
What was the emotional drive that got you into music and production and doing what you do these days?
I guess the real catalyst kind of came from when I was around 13, 14. I'd already kind of been flirting with music production before that, but like around that time, my family moved from one city to another. So I was in that kind of like new kid situation where I would either have to make a load of new friends or be a loner or that kind of whole thing. Before that, I'd actually been like one of those angry kids, like the ones that you would push to a point where they would like pop and freak out. And then, everyone's waiting for that moment and they'd freak out. I didn't like that. And I kind of had, at the age of like 13, 14, I kind of said to myself, like, that's not fun. I'm not enjoying doing this, so I'm just gonna not care. And I think I grew myself a real sense of apathy and kind of not disinterest, but kind of just come what may-ishness to my entire outlook on the world. But what that enabled was for me to become the person I have been for the last 10 years. That person has been able to hole up in rooms making tracks happily because I keep myself company very happily. And I think that's kind of what led to the fact that I was already doing some music production. It led to that blossoming into a place where I can really explore and fulfill myself mentally without the need for other people. That said, I do have friends.
Who's some of your best friends in the producer community?
The person I see the most of would be Faint. He's like a drum and bass producer on Monster Cat. Every time I get the chance to, I'll hang out with Abe OK. There's not many people apart from Faint that I really see that often. I've got my friend Buster, who's actually here right now, who's been producing alongside. We've been producing together for ages. Said the Sky is another one a bit like OK, where if I get the chance, I will definitely hang out with him. Not that many people that I hang out with super often.
How you were saying you're just, you're this angry kid, and then eventually you're like, this isn't that fun. I don't really want to be that person anymore. I feel like a lot of people go through that. It's kind of just like the teenage angst, so to say. Do you still struggle with that from time to time? You see that angry teenager starting to bubble up inside of you, or is that pretty much gone now?
It happened once, maybe about 3 years after that kind of time, where someone had wound me up over something really like asinine, nothing important. And I did pop. That came to blows, and it was like a fight. And I remember doing something in that fight that I wasn't particularly proud of. I'd gone too far in that. It got really physical, and he had his arm around my neck, and I ended up like jumping backwards onto him, and he was out cold, and I hated it, and I couldn't believe it. I'm not a violent person at all. Like, that's the only fight I'd ever been in. I hated that I'd lost myself. That moment in itself was really poignant because one moment there was an argument, and then instant remorse, and so much other conflicting kind of ideas and things. That's the only time it ever really came back up. But to be honest, no, I don't find myself getting riled up and angry, and I haven't felt like that since then, and that was 8 years ago. Either I found better friends, I found a way to cope with things. Yeah, things very rarely faze me now.
Would you say that moment when you did that, would you attribute that to the moment in your life that you regret the most, or is there another moment in your life that you would attribute that title to?
I don't know. I don't. I've never really thought about that. It's definitely something that sticks out. I guess maybe you could say that there's probably stuff that I'm not thinking of. I might be a bit of a serial repressor in terms of bad memories and things that I don't want to have to think about because they don't make me happy. But not in a sort of like bubbling away kind of thing, and just a sort of like nothing I can do about that. Why bother? There might be stuff that I would think about that would fill me with more regret, but nothing's coming to mind right now. That whole episode kind of led me to be the person I am and how I feel about like violence and stuff. I don't think there's any kind of exchange rate between words and violence anyway. Like nothing anyone can say to anyone, in my mind anyway, constitutes physical threat person. I know that a lot of people would disagree with me on that.
But you seem like that kind of guy. And okay, yeah, you can make fun of me, you can make fun of the ones that I love, and so on and so forth. But I don't think that warrants me physically hurting you. Like,
there's no exchange rate in my mind. Yeah. No exchange rate.
Yeah, I mean, you can push someone pretty dang far, but I've kind of settled it in my mind. It sounds like you have as well. I've kind of settled it in my mind until me or my loved ones or someone in general is in physical danger. I don't think that there's an actual need to do that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth.
That's the overall goal, right? But most of us we're not that perfect.
Oh no, I mean, I'm talking in a perfect world, and since then I've held myself in that same regard.
You mentioned how at one point you hit this crossroads in your life that you were angry, and it was either make new friends or you had to find an outlet, and it seemed that music turned into that solace for you. With that being said, different world. What's something else that would have helped you find that comfort when you came to that same crossroads?
I think it could have been anything at that point, because as I moved to this new school and stuff, I didn't seclude myself completely. I just did whatever I felt like doing. I was like in the choirs, and I was skating. I
still skate, and one thing I've noticed from being the 13-year-old kid to now 28, still trying to skate, is concrete is a lot harder of a surface these days.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Concrete will not forgive you.
You don't bounce the same way at this age.
When I was preparing for this interview, I went back and I listened to virtually every interview that you have on YouTube of people that have a view on YouTube. I started to see a common thread between the interviews that you would say, and the common thread was basically that you never want to be pigeonholed or confined to a certain type of genre or to a certain type of art form, at least musical art form. Why is that? Why do you feel a need to make sure that you're ever expanding or not confined to like this little box?
It's a necessity of the current state of music is genre. People have now got so much choice that they need to be able to define the things that they like so that they can hear more of what they like. That in essence is okay and it's good, but it does kind of close doors for people to be able to hear things. Like if you think of like a huge spectrum of things, I know it's more like a Venn diagram that's really complicated, but they'll know the areas that they like to frequent, and they might like something way out here or way out here, but they've got no real way of knowing. For me, I think genre can be such a weight to bear, because if I want to make a dubstep track and I want it to do well in a realistic sense, this comes more into a business side of things, I guess. Like I've got to make it palatable to dubstep DJs and people that are going to be searching for dubstep, or make make it so not dubstep that it has some other home, some other place because it's got so much of something else. I guess nowadays I would feel a little bit more emboldened to do something way left field because of Spotify playlists that kind of like meld things together and kind of use way huger umbrella terms. And that's something I'd actually really love to explore towards the end of this year, because that's really exciting to me. But genre in itself is such a construct of things that are, at the end of the day, are completely arbitrary. Like, if you're a drum and bass head, you're gonna like other stuff. Drum and bass is a good example because so many drum and bass heads hate everything else just by definition. And it's a bit cancerous to progress of any kind. Drum and bass is supposed to be at 174 BPM. If you take something down to 155 BPM and produce it exactly the same as a drum and bass tune, drum and bass heads are gonna like it. It's just not gonna get played by drum and bass DJs, and then you're not gonna get a look in anyway. And that's just changing one parameter of the way that you could approach that track. And I think that if you extrapolate that to all the things that could be changed about any one genre to still be palatable to people who would like that, you suddenly realize how banded everything is now.
Genre is kind of a necessary evil in the sense, because it sends people in the direction that they kind of want to go. Because if they like a dubstep song but they don't know how to describe what it is, well, maybe the next song they listen to is country and they're like, it's not the same, but I don't know how to explain what I want.
Exactly. Like, that's part of it. I think genre is a necessary evil that is taken too much as gospel. That's how I view it. I mean, that's not to say that it's not really fun to go, okay, today I'm making a straight up house banger. That in itself is a fun limitation. It's the fact that there's so many musicians out there that will be like, I want to make it. They'll look at a successful DJ or other musician and be like, okay, these are the things that make them successful. I need to completely copy and emulate those, or at least not stray too far from those things. That suddenly clouds imagination. That's what I lament the most, is the fact that it takes the imagination out of making music, because a blog of any kind or any kind of platform that could push it want to know what sort of track it is, because they have their own mission statement of what they will and won't plug for the most part. If something's popular, everyone will plug it anyway. But getting from having something that's completely non-genre and non-definable to a point where everyone's wanting to talk about it is so rare. Like, the last time I could think of that happening was Somebody I Used to Know by Gautier, but that was a while back. I'm sure it's happened since then.
Even as a amateur producer that I am, you're right. It's such people feel the need to be determined by one genre, and I found myself like not even having a clue of what genre I would produce in, and then I think I realized that you're right. It's a necessary evil. It gives people direction, but then I can also find it as a limiter. And as an example, Dylan Francis is just putting, like, he's purely Moombathon right now, and no one would have thought he did that. But look, he's still putting out a great album. Calvin Harris has done funk, he's done pop, he's done hip hop. And why do we limit ourselves to saying, I like purely dubstep? What happened to what sounds good is good? Because music's a universal language. And what happened to, if it's good to the ears, then it's going to be good. You don't have to like it because of genre X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, it makes it easier to play the game, right? Like, knowing that you've made the track in a certain way. Like, if you've made a Moombathon track, it's like you put it through the places that people would go to get that.
Yeah.
Choice. It's choice. I think it comes down to the fact that people have the choice and they need to know how to make the choice so that they get the things they like. It's consumerism in a way, but not. And I'm not saying that in like a sort of big pharma kind of consumerism. No, it's just a necessary thing that people want to be able to choose. Like, back when things were about, if it sounds good, it is good. I think that was a point where there were payola, and it was radio stations that had the complete, the final say, or you could pay to get on. And so there was so little music actually making its way to people that any music was kind of valuable. And now we have this giant noise storm that you need to be able to prick through somehow. I think that's the burden of it, and that's what's made this necessary. And I don't completely lament it, because it's great to be able to see so many cultures coming around through it. Part of being a total rhythm dubstep head is that you are not a trance head. It's also a signaling of intent of being part of X culture and definitely not part of Y culture. And I'm sure there are people that fall into both categories of what I just said. Like, I'm not trying to necessarily make any sweeping generalizations like that, but there's definitely an element of, I am part of this, I'm not part of you. And that's just culture in itself, isn't it? Like, that's football teams, that's fashion, it's everything. That's just how we work, I think.
Anybody can make music today.
It's amazing.
But it is amazing. You're right. It's hard to break in. Maybe that's why we have limitations such as genres. But at the same time, if someone's making a really good dubstep song, they know of dubstep community X, Y, and Z to promote this music to at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So the fact that the opportunities for people to break into the music industry or to make music in general, say that, is just astronomically higher than it was, say, 10 years ago, or especially 20 years ago. Anyone can get into it now through relatively, cheap means. As beautiful as that is, does that scare you in a way? Because that means that potentially knock you out of a job one day, or is it kind of liberating to think about?
For me personally, I hesitate to say this because it may come across the wrong way. I personally don't worry because I don't think anyone else sounds like me. I would be more worried if I was very genre, very genre. Like if I was somebody making something that was a really, really current sound, I would be worried about some kid coming through with incredible sound design and chops and just completely blowing that genre wide open and then suddenly making me redundant. I count myself lucky in that, I like to geek, I like to produce, but what I enjoy the most and the thing that brings me the most happiness is writing and like the melodies and the way that those things come together. And I think that I'm lucky in the sense that I do that in my own way, and it sounds like me. So far, and this is something that could change tomorrow. So far, I haven't heard anybody that really sounds like me, and I might be being completely naive. That's why I don't worry about that so much. But also at the same time, everyone just makes their own decisions anyway. Like when you make a track, if you're really tuning into you and making decisions based on what you want, no one else is you. True. So why would you worry? That's my general conclusion. I guess in a lot more generalized sense, if you're being you, you shouldn't have to worry about someone replacing you. The only thing you have to worry about is the industry moving away from what you are. That's just how things go. Maybe if you're quick and you can change your stripes as you need to and still be you within a different construct, which is something I've seen loads of people do. And Martin Garrix being a good example, going from like completely like big room house to doing progressive house to doing future bass and still staying him. That's a good example of that. He stayed relevant. And if you can do you and stay relevant within the things of that, then I don't think there's ever any reason to worry. It's only if you're pandering that I think you have to worry.
If you are being you, like if you are producing for you, how can someone replicate that? No one can replicate who you are. And so you can't be replaced if you're being you. Oh my gosh.
That applies to life in general. And the one thing that I guess really spoke to me is Fox. That even goes back to, I played college football. And that's such a relative statement that you made, because everyone seems to be worried about, there could always be an incoming freshman that is just, they're going to take your spot, because that's the whole concept of college football and in the pros is they're looking for the next best athlete that's going to help them win games. And that's why I was recruited, and that's why everyone else was there. If you're pandering at the thought of someone else taking your position, it's probably going to happen. But if you're being true to yourself, if you're doing what you need to do, you're right. I think it takes care of itself. And it's two totally different things in the sense that you've got to stay true to you and making music. But even in the football realm, it's, if you're working hard, you're playing because you love the sport, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn between pretty much everything in this. I think it's, it's mindset at the end of the day. It's all, it's just human condition, right?
What is kind of the number one thing right now in the music industry that you see? Could be music related, or it could be, people related, or whatever.
I don't know, actually. That's a really tough question. I mean, there's plenty wrong, but I would hesitate to really call anything out because everything evolves out of necessity, right? Anything that is successful for a reason, and no matter how much it might make me or somebody else in the industry uncomfortable. Like the idea of, there are a lot of acts that are based in social media before even anyone knowing a track of theirs. That's not something that bothers me a huge amount, but I can see why it would bother somebody a huge amount. That could be seen as something that's really wrong with the industry. So could blog monopoly, or like Spotify playlist monopoly, or the fact that that you kind of have to pay for people to hear your music, whatever, like, or the tyranny of, or literally just the tyranny of the idea that there's so many other people out there just like you making tracks that no one ever gets to hear. There's lots that you could say is wrong with it, but everything kind of breeds something else that is an innovative way to kind of circumvent that. I think the idea that there's anything inherently wrong is itself wrong, but not.
Completely switching gears, throwing a wrench into the machine. What is the deepest thought that you've had in the last year?
I'm incredibly fickle in terms of just like what I'll entertain in my mind. Like, I don't really think backwards and I don't really think forwards. I'm just very on whatever's in front of me. So it's hard for me to think of something like that. Like there's been a load of like mix down things that have plagued me in the last year, or even today. Actually, there was some stuff I was dealing with that was really annoying. But yeah, I can't think of like a definitive this was ridiculous moment right now off the top of my head. Anyway, the one that does floor me sometimes is when you see a lot of people in any place, and it doesn't have to be a crowd. It can be just the fact you're walking over a highway and you see hundreds of cars, with at least one person in them, and they're not stopping. They're just going to keep coming, and there's so many people. Like that's something that makes me stop and think. That's one thing that gets me.
Like the totality of humanity and like actually how many people there are.
Yeah, and even in that little instance, you're only seeing like a tiny fraction of what's actually out there.
Yeah.
Like
there's actually a term for it. Sonder?
Oh yeah. That's those proposed new word things, right?
Yeah.
I saw that too. Yeah.
It's like the realization that there's other people out there living their lives completely independent of you, and there's like a lot of people doing it.
It's a bit of a blind side when it hits you, right?
Yeah, it really is. I just barely did a podcast with Seamless. I asked him something similar to what I just asked you, like what is something within the industry that really, really bothers you? And he said, realizing how much the top sucks. And how he explained that was that when you get so high up in the industry, it's no longer about music. It's more about business. And I guess in his view, the higher that you climb, the more the business takes over and eats the music. In your experience, do you think that's true, or have you seen differently?
I think that's down to your team as well as being, I guess, in prominence. Branding and social media and marketing and all those things that come under the business umbrella of these things are undeniably a huge factor nowadays, especially in America, more so in America. I think the importance of the business side of it is, at what point do you decide that you want this to be a career? Because if you want to be something that is profitable for a longer amount of time, then you have to become a business. And I guess that's a necessity. It plagues a lot of producers and musicians, especially because that's not what they started out to do. They started out to have a good time, and business is not a good time for those who don't want to do it. And usually the sort of person to hold up in some kind of studio of varying quality isn't the sort of person that wants to spend a load of time planning out a social media strategy for the track they've already finished. They want to make the next one.
Yeah, it's the old adage of Pam makes the best apple pies. Should Pam open her own pie making business? It's that old adage of how far.
I haven't heard that.
Oh yeah,
you don't know Pam? Pam's
yeah,
awesome. You
don't know Pam?
I don't know Pam.
She's a good woman. She's a burly woman.
She makes great pies.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Is your hobby worth a career? And is it something that, are you willing to work in your business or on your business? And that kind of goes around your team. Are you the producer that's doing your branding, your production? Are you trying to increase your sales, or are you having the luxury of making music and letting everyone else handle the rest for you? So I think in the music industry, it does depend how far do you want to take it. How supportive is music production going to be to your livelihood? Streaming off of that, my question would be, when you're having the worst of days, nothing's going right. It could be music, personal life, whatever. What's a typical day for you? Is it going to music, or are you one where you think, no, I got to stop and need a break? What do you do when it seems like nothing goes right?
I work on a different track.
Okay.
So
I open a new project file, blank one.
So it's still the creation of music is your catalyst to help you through those hard times?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is just open up Logic on a blank project and see where we go.
What is an unpopular opinion that you have?
Oh,
that's a good question.
I've got a few. I'm a massive contrarian. I like to disagree.
Oh, this is good.
So most things, you tell me A and I'll tell you B. Like,
does all future bass sound the same?
If you tell me A, I'll tell you B, but but I don't like to generalize.
Okay.
So, for example, if I say I'm not that into Swedish House Mafia, but Don't You Worry Child is a great track. Yeah, I mean, like, that's an unpopular opinion right now, right? Like,
considering they just
like reunited
Ultra, yeah, that might be a very unpopular opinion.
honestly, most things I think tend to be unpopular opinions. Buster, do I have any really unpopular opinions? Wait, the pacifism thing I was saying earlier is when I was talking about the exchange rate between violence, that I find to actually be quite a unpopular opinion.
Buster, did you think of anything?
Did you think of anything, B?
You have a lot of them.
Oh,
I have a lot of them.
just wasted your phone a friend on that answer.
I did, didn't I?
What is the happiest experience of your life? / the most beautiful experience of your life?
Had a really good one recently. I don't know if I put this as the happiest experience of my life or there's a couple, then they're all very different. The first one and most recent thing I can think of was recently I did like a pop-up show with these with this huge Bluetooth speaker I've got. It's called a Soundbox. I did this weekend in Amsterdam where I was in Amsterdam for some music conference and I was doing some weird masterclass thing or something. But I turned it into a weekend of pop-up shows, and the Liquidity guys, Liquidity being a drum and bass promotion channel on YouTube that also do a lot of events, especially around Amsterdam. They had a show that night. They said I could do a pop-up show in the venue in the smoking area, which was strangely inside in this weird little kind of like room the size of like a living room, like front room kind of, set up in the corner of that room, and had no idea how it would go. And within 5 minutes, it was wall-to-wall sweatbox craziness. It was the most raggedy show of any kind I had ever played, and everybody who was there was super stoked that this was happening. Like, I wasn't on the lineup for that night. Like, no one knew I was going to be there, but I'm definitely a name that people know within those circles. Other side was the fact that last year on my birthday, I got to snowboard in California with some good friends from in LA. And who was I with? Two agents from Circle Talent Agency, one of which, lady called Katie Cho, was my first tour manager in the USA. So we'd spent like a month and a half together on the tour with Getter, and a really fun time on that. And it was the first time I'd seen her in a while as well. So it was just quite a nice, not bittersweet, just kind of nice time. I don't know. It was cool.
What was the moment in your career that kind of, not really your aha moment, but the moment when you just thought, I never want this one to end. I could bathe in this awesome feeling for the rest of my life.
First time that happened, right?
Yeah.
I think it was my first show in 2000 and I can check. Yeah, 2011, February the 18th.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got the poster for the event.
It is dated. Awesome.
It was the first time I played to anybody else that wasn't like some ragtag kind of thrown together rave that me and my friends would put on at a local venue. This was my first ever like booking, as back then I was Stan SB, and it was in Belgium. I remember the set. I remember the first time playing there. There's still some like, I'm sure I'm still tagged in some Facebook videos of it, and it was just the first time I'd got to play my music to people that I didn't know, and then they were already singing along. And that was like, whoa, extrapolate from.
Extrapolate. You have such a wide
vocabulary.
Vernacular. That's the
That's
word I was
the worst
looking for.
time to not think of a word.
What's your favorite fancy word that you like to say that most people don't know?
Oh, I don't know. Dude.
Indubitably. That's a good one.
Yeah, but people know that one. That one's like a...
People know that?
Like, oh yeah.
I thought I was fancy. Everyone know. Okay.
No, but it's like it's not one that anyone pulls out, so it is fancy, but people know it. The super left of field words. I don't know, to be honest. Usually a phylactery. Yeah, no, I can't remember what it means.
Oh, he's looking it up.
And a phylactery, which is spelled Phyllactery. You never hear it. It's a small leather box containing Hebrew texts on vellum worn by Jewish men at morning prayer as a reminder for them to keep the law. But that's a word I know for some reason.
Such a word.
I got a term for you. So if you take your hand and you put your thumb on your pointer finger and you press down, this little dent comes right here. Do you know what that's called?
No, I don't.
It is called your anatomical snuff box.
Is it?
So if you ever need it, it's right there.
I can't get mine to come out. I've seen it before. No, I can get it when I go like that.
Oh, that works too. Just to make that little guy pop out.
Oh, okay. Hey,
Hey, here's that guy. I don't know what use it has, but it's there.
It's your snuff box?
Your snuff box.
Oh, I know about my triquetral bone because I broke that a little while ago on this.
What?
You made that up.
I think people from UK only have that. I don't think that's a real thing.
I think I got a triquetral plane fracture.
Where is that?
That's so like on your wrist here. No, it's here. It's here. Like you've got that little ball like right here.
Yeah, that guy.
There's actually two, and it's the one that you know less about.
What?
Yeah, I fractured the lesser known wrist ball doing a kickflip down some stairs.
In that, when you were talking about that, you talked about, you were playing a game or whatever. So another common thread that I saw with all of your interviews is that you like to play games. You like to play League of Legends. Is that your poison of choice?
Not right now. It's not. No, I haven't played it as much recently.
Oh, what is your mainstay?
Currently, right now, I'm playing a lot of the Dragon Ball fighting game that came out.
My heart is so full.
Z was my thing.
Here's a question. All right, with Dragon Ball, what character from Dragon Ball / Dragon Ball Z do you associate the most with?
And I want to say Vegeta, but I think everyone would say that. I think everybody would say that. I think everybody feels a little bit like Vegeta, like that someone is always trying less hard and doing more than them. I think there's a little Vegeta in everybody.
Yeah. What about you, Sawyer? Who do you connect with?
I know growing up, I was a huge Piccolo fan, and he's underrated in my book. He was that really tough guy, like hard on everybody.
Doing the right thing.
But underneath, he had morals. Like his moral compass was on point. Like
wow.
he did everything. It may have hurt your feelings at the time, but he was doing it for you. I mean, he raised Gohan.
We are really having this conversation.
Yeah. Don't ever forget that, Gohan.
Gohan listens to Behind the DAW. Okay, I gotta tell you mine. Vegito. When they fuse together, because I really do feel like there's a little Goku and a little Vegeta in me.
Can we just add in one more little quick tangent?
Yes.
Favorite villain?
Cell. Hardcore. 100% Cell.
Yes. Cell all day.
Every day. That was the biggest mind-blowing moment of all time. It's like, no, the hardcore, the bad guys are the androids. Psych. It's Cell who's gonna eat the androids.
Does Beerus count?
Of course, Beerus.
As a bad guy, though.
Yes.
Then yes, Beerus.
Beerus is a good guy. Not a good guy. Good villain. He's kind of both, isn't he?
Is
like an anti-hero.
I'm so happy. Guys, I made an entire serum preset pack made from Dragon Ball Z people. I dragged in the PNG of Goku and Vegeta and everybody. I'll send it to you. It's so good.
I need to play you something.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
You did that?
I did that.
Why isn't it out?
Yeah.
I'm still working on it.
I haven't nerded this hard in a long time. Okay. I got a final question. So in the future, when you do have kids, let's say that you found out something about your son. And when you found out that thing about your son, you were just incredibly proud of him for doing said thing. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy I had a son that this happened. What would be that thing that you're just I'm so freaking proud of you, son?
Ooh. I've never been asked that one before. I think it would just be seeing them proficient at something they loved. I don't think it would matter what it was. It could be anything. It wouldn't have to be something that I take interest in. Say that kid was really into dancing or anything, or into instruments or whatever, and I saw them being genuinely top tier, proficient and capable in that. I think that would be the thing. I don't think it matters what exactly it is. I think that's the thing that I'm most drawn to in anybody in general anyway, is proficiency in something that they actually care about more than anything else. And I think that would definitely extend to this.
When it's all said and done, when the era of Fox Stevenson is finished, which I think there's still time. We're not finished yet, folks. When it's all said and done and you call it quits, you may never, but what's the one thing you want people to take away from their experience of listening to your music?
From a selfish, I guess there's two ways to answer this question. You can answer it from a selfish point of view and from a more, I guess, giving point of view. From a selfish point of view, I would want people to not necessarily think that I was the best, but that I definitely did it my way, that I wasn't doing it like anyone else. That would be what I would want from a selfish point of view. And from a less selfish point of view, I would want people to feel like they hadn't been slighted by the fact that they stumbled onto my music and listened to it. I'd want them to think that listening to it was worthwhile, and that those things have underscored parts of their lives and helped with whatever they have helped with, and if it's helped people get through things, like that I never would go the other way, that things would never hinder people. I guess that would be really hard to do anyway, but yeah, I want people to just remember my music fondly, and yeah, that's about it.
And can I add, your selfish takeaway isn't so selfish.
It's really not. It's really not.
It's not like there's nothing wrong with wanting to know that people realize you're being genuine with yourself and the music that you create.
What the heck, man? You're just not selfish.
Oh, I am.
Mr. Fox Stevenson, is there any final words that you would like to tell everybody?
Usually, yeah, but I don't know. I think hopefully this year will speak for itself. We'll see.
And the final, most important question: did you have a good time?
I did indeed, yeah.